Hello, welcome everyone to the first ever live episode of 40k Frontiers. Episode 10, Hits from the Gong. So joining us today is three of our lovely co-hosts. So we've got Mr. Taus to my right.
Hello.
And then the ever-loving, ever-good, handsome young man, Benny Way. How you doing, buddy?
I'll stop it. Yeah, I'm great, thanks. I'm great. Yeah. Recovering from the weekend and ready for another one, but good.
Yeah. Our South Korean man, Alex, sadly couldn't join us today, but he sends his warm regards, and he's doing well. So his wife just made it back into the country, into South Korea. So congrats to them, and the dogs. Obviously, can't forget the dogs. So they're doing well.
Very important.
And then and I'm now back. So you guys held the I guess the host and the cast last week, or the week before, whenever it was, and so had a good honeymoon. Now I'm back into it and back to playing 40k. So. On today's show, we're going to be talking about a couple of events that the boys attended. So we have Benny Way attend Gonghammer. There we go. We got it. And then we have Mr. Taus attend Cavcon. And we'll be talking about also just goals and settings for moving forward, and also touching on some upcoming events, including a cancer charity event in New Zealand. So, but before we get into all those details, Taus, you just update us with what's been happening.
Me? What I've been doing locally?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to Cavcon, which, as sort of we'll get onto later. I can't remember if I mentioned this last episode, but I made a bunch of terrain, and then I've since made like a storage system for it. I painted my Chaos Knights to good enough like to put on the table level, and I caught COVID. Whee! So
Never fun.
Yeah, I am under the effects of that at the moment. So if I am, less coherent than usual, I'll blame that.
At least you got an excuse now, right? So that's the main thing.
Exactly.
So, exactly. Well, I'm going good. I've been busy living my hectic July life, which is 3 GTs in 4 weeks. So I've just done number 2. Yeah, a little bit of a golden age for me, once in a lifetime. So why not hit it? But yeah, I've got another one this weekend. So I'm just I'm actually just going to do a bit of basing, like a bit of extra stuff to my models. I don't need to do too much. There's no other painting I need to do, but I just thought I'd just build up those bases a bit. So on my Tyranids. So, but yeah, apart from that, just, recovering, but planning. So yeah, it's been great.
Happy days. Yeah, for me, so getting back into it all, I sort of dropped off as soon as like Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights came out, and now back into it all. So had a bit of a break, did a lot of hobbying, and now into it all. So learning all about Chaos Space Marines, all the Knights, and just Nephilim. So it's been a good time just catching all the way up to speed, and along the way also organizing some little local stuff. So we're getting some more consistent 2K games in here locally, and just arranging some events. So we've got some events on the horizon, and looking forward to it all. So before we get into the main
about I was going to say learning about how Hark and World Claimer is a tournament staple.
The York Tasmania, of course.
Yeah, all that jazz. And then I'm sure there'll be many, many, many abaddons at every single tournament moving forward. But we'll see what happens. So yeah, before we get stuck into the main topic of the show, obviously you got to do our traditional plug. So if you want to support the Best in Tabletop Network, you can join us at patreon.com/Best in Tabletop. I know, obviously, so moving forward, they're looking to merge both the YouTube membership and the Patreon. So for $10 a month, you'll get both the behind-the-scenes content and Discord access. It's in the works, so just a heads up for that. And on the horizon, we got Chasing the Narrative Part 2. So coming up soon should be Billy Harmon. So he'll be talking about how he owns a pet pig. Of all things, he owns a pet pig, what that's like, but also just about career in 40k. And then we got people like Alex McDougall on the horizon as well. And also, obviously, join the best Discord in 40k. Yeah, I said it. So join the best Discord in 40k, learn from some of the best in the 40k, and just have a good time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Beautiful. All right. So on to the first main topic in Gonghammer. So, Benny Way, you attended the lovely Gonghammer over the weekend. What was that all like?
I did. It was brilliant. So it was actually the first. There's me there. It was the first one that's ever been run. I remember when Brad approached me about potentially running one and if he could get a hand, because he's never run a big event before. He was like, I'll put 40 people as the cap. I don't think we'll get many. And I'm pretty sure he hit 40 within about 12 hours. So it ended up being a 75 player major, which was awesome. It was held in this absolutely huge, just like kind of school sports hall. There was like 3 or 4, even 4 meters in some cases between some of the tables. If you guys are watching us live or the video on YouTube, you will be able to see my little walkthrough of there. The terrain was amazing, really, really good and consistent through all the tables. So there was none of this, I got a light table, I got a heavy table. It was exactly the same terrain, every single table, and the same layout. So there was like, you got there and every table was just laid out the same. And then day 2, it changed. So it was absolutely incredible. That's me there with my mate, Pommy Ben. Some of the paint standards there was incredible. For you, those of you who don't know, the Wollongong is a kind of like a secondary city about an hour and a half south of Sydney. So for me personally, it was a 3.5 hour drive, but it was totally worth it. It was actually, I'd say, like the event I went to 2 weeks ago was absolutely incredible and was the best event I've been to this year. But now I think this one is actually the best one I've been. So it was absolutely fantastic.
Hell yeah, man! Some of these display boards look pretty great.
Yeah, they do. So my friend, those nights there, my friend, he won best painted. Yep. So absolutely. So it was won by Death Guard, this event. A friend of mine and local boss, Richard Hill. He was running. I don't know. I'm pretty sure, like when I played this guy at an event with my Gene Stealer cult in April, he said he had played the Demon Engine style list about 60 times in person and about 100 plus on TTS. So, this is obviously months later. And this guy is just an absolute faction expert. Like, he does things with Death Guard that no one has any right to be doing, So, and he's always up there in the top 10, top 5, sometimes even second, third. But this time he hit the win, so I'm really proud of him, and really, really just impressed in general. We also had second, well, also undefeated, but just short on the battle points. In second place was the Sisters, by the guy who's top in the ITC in Australia, Josh McMillan. So he did really well. And third place, I'm pretty sure, was Necrons. I know it was Sisters again, and then we had 2 Necron players, and then there was me. So yeah, so I was pretty happy with that. I was a top NIDS player at the event, so really happy with that.
Congrats, buddy.
Yeah, I had a 2-point loss to Sisters in round 4. The guy who came third. I actually felt like that game was winnable for me, so I was pretty happy about it. But I felt I had great opponents, and once again played 5 people I'd never played before. So hey, so good.
And that's the best thing that ever, right? It's like playing people you've never played against before, so and getting good games of 40k in. And we have actually had the winner in the chat. So Feud, congrats to you. He won the event, and he said if they had drinks at the event, it would have been a 10 out of 10. So we'll take it to 11, I reckon, like for some of the boys. But we were allowed to bring some beers, but it was no glass because obviously it was at the school. So we had to behave ourselves, but everyone was fantastic. And what a venue! And it was actually, it's pretty cold in Australia down where we are at the moment, comparatively. Don't laugh, Talsey. But it is, but the sun came out for us on both of those days and warmed it all up as well. So we were living the dream.
Are you like getting a frost in the morning? Is that like that cold?
No, steady on, mate. Steady on. There's no frost. Not this winter. We did have, even where I lived last winter, we had some frosts. But yeah, it's pretty. That's pretty rare. But absolutely amazing event. This is hopefully going to be an event that happens every year now. As New South Wales state rep, I helped Brad out with a lot of the organisation, but that dude was so proactive as a TO and just all over it, so organised. There were some absolutely brilliant showings there. There were 7 Knight players. 7 Chaos Knight players and 3 Imperial Knight players, which honestly, lads, what's going on?
Big boy time.
It was big boy time. I played one in round 3, Imperial Knights, against a very good Imperial Knights, local Imperial Knights player, probably the best one at the event. So it was really good. Just had some great games, especially my round 5, especially. So shout out to Michael. If he listens, that was my favorite game of the event. The guy was an absolute champion. That's me playing him actually on stream. He was playing Thousand Suns. So, but there's also 7 Necrons at the event. So for a 75 person major, which is pretty big in New South Wales. It's a shame it wasn't a 6 rounder. That's like 10% over, like 15%, nearly 20% of the field was just 2 factions or 2 styles of army. So it was definitely a tough field.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worthwhile noting also this is like one of the first big major events with Nephilim changes. So like everyone's taking new things and everyone's taking different tech pieces along the way. So how did you find the changes to Nephilim overall anyway? So this is your first event with Nephilim. Like how did you find it?
So I think from like a conceptual standpoint, it's fantastic. Like we've got this meta that seems to have balanced out a little bit, if I'm not quite honest with you. It's far more secondary based now. The powers are in the secondary base. Seems, more so than the data sheet base. Everyone was like, it's all just data sheets. I mean, like the strong data sheets still do really well, but if they don't have great secondaries to accompany that, that's not as good. Like Necrons and Sisters, like Necrons do a lot of damage. Like the King does a lot of damage, but if you look at them, they're still like rolling D3s a lot and D6 shots and D6 damages, but their point scoring is amazing. And this is not any news to anyone listening to this podcast. We all know how it works. But Sisters are the same, but they can do the damage. So I think eventually they will come out on top above Necrons, because I think Necrons will get an FAQ probably sooner rather than later. But just seeing like people running orcs, like seeing orcs up there, like and actually being like, oh man, I don't want to play orcs. Like where 3 months ago you'd be like, sweet, I got orcs. Like orcs can score. Orcs are scary. Like just I mean, Death Guard won it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I really don't feel like I need to say much more. And like from Feud has just commented saying game's more interactive, and that's the big thing. And that it is more interactive, right? Like, and unfortunately, Sisters and Necrons seem to be so much further ahead, like up top, and that's because their secondaries are less interactive. Do you know what I mean? So that's like the only difference there. I think they're definitely the best 2 factions at the moment. But A tier's packed and just loose, and it's like the Wild West. You don't know what's going to be. Drakari did well at the event too, as well. Like it was nuts. There's a lot going on. So I'm a big fan conceptually of Nephilim. I think it's great. So.
Yeah, well, like you were saying, data sheets versus secondaries, right? Like the whole, like now there's the 2 ways to do it, right? Like some factions will be good because they've got the good data sheets, right? And they'll do the table your opponent and like, just lock in that 10 or 13 for assassinate and like raise banners on people's corpses to yoink someone else is saying, that sort of deal, right? And others will, other factions like Sisters and Necrons and like both the Knights also have like pretty solid secondaries. They can go that route to be solid and I've lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys.
No, but I know what you mean. You're right. You're absolutely correct. It does seem to be that, and it's refreshing to see that GW have gone back to Necrons and gone, okay, you have not been good enough for a long time. We're going to do this to make you better. But then there are like factions like AdMech, where they've just gone, okay, that buff is now too much. That nerf is now too much. We're going to reverse that. Huge. I think like it's still not. I don't think 40k is ever going to be in a perfect place. So but I feel like it's closest. That tournament with the meta felt like, apart from maybe like the Silent King nonsense, but
people raising minions.
Yes, you could revive them at this one.
I know, but like people were taking the combo to do it.
Yeah, I mean, aside from that, it feels like we're relatively close, or closer than I thought we'd be. Like Tyranids like secondaries are like pretty bad, if I'm honest. Like, but it just means you've got to play that primary harder. It's just a shift. It's just a mind shift, really. And you've got to. You don't have to play more aggressively. You just have to play your primary and your secondary game aggressively, if you know what I mean. You can't just sit back like sisters and score 5 points, 11 points turn one for doing nothing. Like there's none of that going on.
Only 11 points turn one.
Well,
what's yeah. Or like the going second against Necrons on like one of the table quarters ones, and it's like, yeah, okay, we'll just take 4 points for Herd. No, it's not Herd the Prey, it's the Purge Vermin. It's like, yeah, we'll just take casual 4 points for that.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, look, Drukhari players are doing for ages, hey. So, but yeah, I think like we're very close, right? We're very, very close to a relative as balanced as a 40k game can be meta. And like they're simple changes, right? They're not absolutely obliterating people's my understanding. So, glad it was a good event. So, but we did have some shade thrown in the chat, Ben. We had Mr. Aussie Wargamer say, favorite game, Benny? What about round one? I mean...
so the worst thing was, this is Nathan, right? And he plays Ultramarines, and it is the most fantastic looking Ultramarines army, just so you know, especially with the display board underneath it. And he drove me down to the event, picked me up. He came from like Tari, which is literally like, I don't know, it's like probably the whole drive for him is about 6 hours. Picks me up, get there, and then we match up round one. So hilarious. So,
Yeah, it is what it is, right? You sometimes play against your friends, and on screen for anyone who's watching the live cast, which you should be, or read you're watching the video, we got a picture of Nathan's army on the board. It looks perfect. Like it was really, really nice, and there were a bunch of very beautiful armies over the event. So, yeah. Moving on. So across the pond, we had the wonderful Cavcon. So in Christchurch, New Zealand. So, Mr. Taus, how was that all about?
Yeah. Okay. So Cavcon is like a reasonably long-running event. It's been a teams event at least for the past wee while. Yeah, so it was a teams of 3. It was smaller points, and it was doing the battle points format rather than 20-0. But yeah, like you have a team of 3. There was also an allowance where you could have rather than traditional like only one book teams format, you could double up on Space Marines, I think, in the team, just because there's a lot of them around. But generally about what you'd expect for team stuff. I was part of team Confidently Incompetent. We had myself on Chaos Knights, John on his Bugs, and Alec on Tau. So the event had there was a bring along terrain sort of thing. There was an actual term for it I'm blanking on, but basically the people attending were invited to bring terrain, and there was a raffle at the end for that. But yeah, otherwise generally usual team stuff. There was like a team spirit award and some other stuff as well. So like you can see if you're watching live on the screen at the moment, there are the Super Smash Bros, or 2 of them. And so those guys were getting in on the team spirit quite early on. I don't know if standard drinks are a thing outside of New Zealand, but they were like 5 standards in before leaving the car park. There was like a 500 ml, 440 ml can of 9-10% alcohol knockback, and then a shot while in the car park. I don't know, we're in.
commitment. So for anyone like globally, so Australia does use a standard drink measure as well. So generally, the first hour from male, like you have 2 standard drinks, and every hour after you have 1 standard drink, and basically you stay under the legal limit is the sort of idea of 0.05 blood alcohol. So to have, was it 9 or 5 standard drinks is like...
No, it was 5. Yeah, so like supposedly what your body compresses in 5 hours, they had like in the car park before getting into the event, and then yeah, so these guys won the Team Spirit award, I think, for the event. Unsurprisingly, on screen we've got Alec very happy to get to play on the Tau themed mat. But yeah, no, there's a whole bunch of fun in that regard. Yeah, I think that's the general structure of the event. So our team did quite well in that we dropped 1 of our 15 games, and that was me against Vinny of Team Super Smash Bros. Because when the Chaos, it was the Black Legion, when the Terminator Brick doesn't fail the Transhypnon Prayer, and they've got Abaddon sitting there, can't really go and like kill that stuff very well with what I had. So I sort of like played outskirts and scored points. I was apparently the only person to kill Abaddon at the event. But yeah, so that one was a loss, but all the rest of the games we managed to win. And so our team took the event, which was pretty cool. Am I forgetting some things that we should talk about?
I think we'll firstly talk about, when you play Chaos Knights or Imperial Knights and you play on tables where it is literally forested tables, what are we doing here, Taos? Come on.
Okay, so for those of you not watching the live stream, there is a photo of a table that is entirely forests and craters. There is like 1 ruin that's like it's smaller than objective markers, like control area, and 1 tiny wee box. And so look, I brought along terrain and made some nice solid like good tables. Okay, but no, this is I guess sort of a bit of a Cavcon special where often there'll be 1 or 2 tables that are just very sparse. And that's how the TO wanted to run the thing. It was for pairings, it's a teams event. There's you get heavy tables and you get the light table. I know last year's one I had triple Megara, and there was a similar table that was like all forests and stuff, and it was just like sweet. It's functionally like a bowling ball because they ignore dents and like the difficult ground thing for being Titanic. So that was a thing. And this one, it came up all the difficult ground. One of the War Dogs decided that he was going to roll a combined 5 on 4 dice for his charge and reroll charge. It's just like, nah, I'm not feeling. Not going to hit those Plague Marines standing like 2 inches away from me. Not doing it. Yeah, anyway, are you done? Have you got your bit in there, Sam?
I got my bit in, so that's okay. Look, it's a dense table. It's dense cover. It's not actually dense,
Yeah.
But yeah, also, you're talking about that team spirit. You had some promotional posters, some WWE promotional things. What is all this about? This is awesome. I love it so much.
Yeah. And so then again, for those not watching on YouTube or whatever, there is on screen the poster that Connor made for Team The Mega Powers Explode on Sixes. And so it's a re-themed thing of like Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, and Miss Elizabeth, the WWE thing, because these guys they had this last year, and I think it's the same factions, although this time Scott has changed from being Miss Orc Elizabeth because he had orcs last year at the event, and now he was running World Eaters, I believe. He had a brass scorpion. That was cool. So yeah. Anyway, and Connor on that team's a graphic designer, so made this wonderful poster. Oh, there was there was grudge matches for the event, right? Which foreign concept to Americans, but anyway, it's a good fun. But there was like a prize or competition for the best grudge match call out. So people have made like poems and songs and stuff on the local Facebook page to do that. There was one team, the Silent Psychers or something like that. They had silent in the name, and they wanted to grudge someone, but they're silent, so they had to get a buddy to write the grudge match call out post. And so they won some prize for that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and then they were going to pass on the the prize to him. So yeah, it was a team event. It lent a bit more into some of the fun and community, I guess, aspects of teams events stuff. It was still generally serious. Like, it was still playing Nephilim missions and still it's still Nephilim missions. It was 1,500 points, not 2K, and the odd table was pretty skewed. But like, yeah, it was still cool. It was neat to play Nephilim. Yeah, I think one other thing I want to note is with the terrain raffle thing and my gearing up to attempt to run an event. I provided like 6 tables of terrain. There were 11 community tables provided overall, including mine. So I was just over half of that. And then at the end, when there was like the giveaway wheel of like to raffle, there was like one of those online like spinny wheel, like, the colorful segment things. And while that was up, sitting ready to be spun, as everyone's sitting around at the prize giving, people worked out, hang on, Taos is on there, like, he's making up half the wheel. That was honestly my favorite part of the event, is when it spins around, and I wasn't like randomly spread out. It was just like a solid half. So like, with the timing, it was either like on the half. Hey,
a little skewed pie.
Yeah. Anyway, that was like, that made me very like, I felt really dumb, but like really happy to see that.
Hell yeah. I'm glad you had a good time. That sounds like an awesome event. And so, yeah. And speaking of, so we've got some upcoming events on the horizon around the region. So on the horizon, so in New Zealand itself, we've got a charity event. So it's Cancer Society Games Fair. It's a 40k double, so run by the Kraken Wargaming crew. So who we had on 2 episodes ago. So they're running an event for charity. So it's for the Cancer Society in New Zealand, and it's a doubles tournament. So it's going on when you're seeing this weekend. So the 23rd and 24th of July. So the weekend after. My apologies. So the 30th and 31st of July is when they're running it. So, and it's like similar to how I think the Team Battle Brothers ran something for Josh Schultz, where they had incentives for people to donate to get rewards. They have a similar motto. So along the way, I think you can pay like $2 New Zealand to get a command point reroll, and there's some other fun little things along the way. I'll quickly read out some for you. So there's like, what is Dead May Never Die for $8? You can res a character or res a unit on a 3+ with D6, res a unit with D6 wounds remaining for $8. There's Rain Down Fire, Beware of the Warp. So there's a bunch of little fun little, twists and little fun gimmicky things in there. But
that's the one held at the Cloud in Auckland, right, Sam? Does it say that on there? Are you guys aware? Anyway, I'm going to be confident and assume that is the case. The Cloud's like this cool, like, a venue on the Auckland waterfront, which is Auckland is semi well known for like having a nice waterfront, and so it's this cool, like, sort of long. It's styled after a Cloud building, so it's like sort of wavy, and anyway, it's a really cool venue. So like, it's having a chance to play in there is pretty neat. I'm not able to go myself, but just shouting it out. It's a cool group of guys, good cause, neat venue, that sort of deal.
Yeah, fantastic. And also on this weekend, so as you're listening to this live, we got the Overwatch Battle Royale 2. Finally, after decades of being cancelled and delayed, we got our very own Betty Way there. So looking forward to it, Ben?
I'm looking forward to it, mate. I have had my ticket since 2019 for this event. So I'm looking forward to the poor guys at Overwatch. Every time they schedule it, there was basically an explosion of COVID. So we are like, it's an absolute admin nightmare for them. I've had to postpone an event before myself once, but not 3 times. So this is the 4th attempt at running that. Looks like we're going ahead. It's all looking good now. And I think that's going to end up being a 55-person event held just outside of Sydney. Should be fun. It's definitely a different terrain format than Gonghammer, but it definitely creates just another another, cool reason to run something different or do that. So that's Overwatch Battle Royale, Alex. I've got Alex in the chat asking that. So Overwatch Battle Royale 2 held in Blacktown, Sydney. So so there's be about 55 players. Looking going to be fun. So, and it's all there's people I've been seeing who have also been doing what I've been doing, going to every event this month. So I'm looking forward to seeing them there as well again. It's another good excuse to get out for an event. But like I said, I've had the ticket for so long, I feel like I've got to see it through to the end now. We've got to complete it. We've got to complete it. So we're doing that.
Fallacy's kicking in hard.
Yeah, that's right. And then for me, after that,
I'm going to use it.
Yeah, I'm going to use it. You can't stop me. So basically, I've got another month after that. Then we've actually got another major at the end of August, and that's out west in Orange. I know that Sam's not going, but I do know that there's a fair few of Sam's gaming group and friends going to that. So I'm looking forward to seeing them there. I think that's going to end out about 80 players, that tournament. So that'll be another major. So that'll be exciting because they've got a new venue up there now. So that's really cool. So that's about, that's really inland. That's of New South Wales. And then I'm going to head up to Queensland. I'm being hassled to play a team event in September as well. But I'm also running one in October. So I'm running a New South Wales team championship. It should be 5-man teams. That's me and the Down Under 40K boys. That's my community group, my best mates in 40K. We run stuff like that, and we're putting on the first New South Wales team championship at the end of October. So I am busy. So I'll have heaps of stuff to talk about forever. So
happy day. Yeah, good to be busy. But speaking of first-time events, so live shows, you'll hear a break, but you'll just join us now. So we're joined by the Tasmanian boys talking about the North and South GT, which is happening on the weekend of the 30th and 31st of July. So join us after the interview. All right, I think we're live. Hello, and welcome back to 40K Frontiers, episode 10. With us today, we have 3 wonderful people from Tasmania. We got Adam, who's the state rep for Tasmania. Maybe. Hello.
We have the ghost of Adam past.
Yep.
And then we also have Henry. So he's coming North and South GT in Tasmania. And then we have Liam, who's now arguably the best player in Tasmania. So how are you gents doing? Starting with yourself, Liam?
Yeah, good. I'm doing pretty well. A bit sick, but excuse the voice, but makes it come out nice and gravelly through the mic.
Hell yeah!
And of course, I can't forget Mr. Touts. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm still stuck at home. I think I'm let out tomorrow from COVID isolation.
Oh, nice.
So just going crazy at home, but it's fine. We get to talk 40K.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Don't need to be well to do that.
No. No, I think you need to be a bit mentally damaged to spend this much time doing it, right?
Probably.
Just a little bit. So we'll go around the room a little bit first, just get things off. So starting with you, Adam. So how'd you get into 40K?
Oh, well, I hope I'm coming through all right because my internet's being a bit weird at the moment. How did I get into 40K? I was playing D&D with a friend many moons ago back in Perth, and he said, hey, come try this other game. And after the first taste, you know how it is, you get hooked.
Yep.
I've played since kind of mid-7th edition, I guess, through the challenging times that they were. And I moved to Tassie about 4 years ago, and there's a pretty cool scene down here with excellent people like Henry and Liam. So, that's a bit of my 40K journey, I guess.
Fantastic. How about yourself, Liam? So how did you get into 40K, and how long have you been playing?
I mean, to be honest, actually playing, I've only been playing for a few years now. But I started when I think I was 10, something along those lines. My friend from the UK had just armies galore. I don't know how he managed to get all these. His parents was buying models for him left, right, and center. He just had everything. So I just ended up kind of exploring that with a lot of his sort of stuff. But I unfortunately didn't have quite the same financial capabilities to start at such a young age, and it wasn't only till 2017, so maybe like 4 or 5 years, just at the start of 8th, I basically started up, bought some Chaos, and just went into it. So
they come in like cereal boxes and Happy Meals and stuff like that in the UK, right? Like you just
I think so.
Like you tip out the last year shreddies or whatever, and then out falls like a Rhino or a Devastator squad or something.
Pretty much, I think.
Yeah.
100%. And last but not least, Henry, how did you enter 40k?
I started with the Battle from a Crouch box set in 4th, and I played a lot with my mates in 5th. Kind of like when I got into college, like year 11, 12, I kind of stopped playing. I got back at the start of 8th, so I've been playing for quite a long time. But seriously, like playing lots of games at the start of 8th. I was going to got back into it.
Yeah, fantastic. So, looks like you guys are all relatively new, except for yourself, Adam. The journeyman, played since some D&D and back in times in Perth. So, what do you guys generally play? So, Liam, you said you're a big Chaos fan, but also know you play a couple of different armies.
Yes, yeah. So when I was young, I started buying Tau. That was the army I kind of hooked myself onto. I had a bunch of Fire Warriors and some of the old starter kits and stuff. Just trying to facilitate something, but over the years that kind of never really grew, or it just kind of sat there. And then when I basically got to the point like, I'm going to start this again properly, I'm like, right, I'm not going back to the Tau because I've tried to do those for so many times now. I just want a clean, fresh start. And so I came into it basically going, I want something relatively simple that I can kind of pick up the game and get into it. But Marines are so boring, and I don't want to go near them because they're just boring. So I was looking at the rack at the local game store, and I spotted some spiky Marines, and I thought they have I like their style. I like their style a lot more than these other ones. And just literally picked up a box there and then went home, built an army. I think it ended up being like 2 defilers, 50 cultists, a whole bunch of random stuff, and just started playing with it.
Hell yeah.
Since then, I picked up Sisters with the next one. That was probably the other one I've repped the longest, and probably a few people have seen. And then lately I've been playing the Tower until the Chaos book has just come back out again. So.
Oh, fantastic. So, join us back again. We've got Adam. He's back. Can you hear us all good? We're just asking, so what sort of armies do you generally play, Adam? That's okay. We'll pass it on to Henry. So, Henry, what armies do you generally play?
Classic Cassie internet with Adam. I've been playing Marines a lot, so I'm like over 4,000 points of Marines. But most of the last few years I've been playing Sisters, so rocking different Sisters builds. That's what I've been playing competitively, and now recently I've been playing the Chaos. But just having fun, getting around a bit with the Chaos stationaries. But yeah, Sisters is my main function.
There you go. So just when Tasmania, so when you're not just playing spiky things, you're playing old holy females, just play nuns. Nuns with attitude, baby. Yeah. So obviously this is a bit of an international audience. So for people that don't know, so Tasmania is just southeast off the coast, like the mainland of Australia. So how would you describe Tasmania to people? So a couple hours south?
It's the England of Australia. That's how I like to say it anyway. Cold, wet, and disconnected from everywhere else.
And just to clarify, so it's the small island off the south of Australia that's still part of Australia, not New Zealand. The other small
island. The other small island to the south. We go southeast, but
Yeah. It's fine.
You're kind of like the younger brother who's kind of picked on a lot, but we still love him.
It's definitely a sibling relationship, yeah.
Mm.
I like to think we're the better looking version of Australia. I like the smaller, more compact, better looking,
Yeah. Definitely.
No complaints from me here. No complaints from me here. So, yeah. So in your general scene, so how many players do you have in Tasmania? So you guys both know you guys are both from Hobart. So Hobart is the capital. Sorry, excuse me if I'm incorrect. Is the capital of Tasmania?
Yeah.
Yeah. And but how many guys do you have in your scene? And obviously this in Tasmania. So it's a small island. So how many people is it? Like half a million, maybe 200,000?
So, yeah,
roughly.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I think
so
that's
we've probably got about 50, 60 people in Hobart, and so you probably get like 30, 40 people at an event. And then there's probably a good like 20 people from up the northern cities, so Burnie and Launceston. So I know the Burnie guys, they have like a club and they've run events before. But yeah, so it's probably like in total, the scene's looking about like, maybe a bit less than 100 strong players that you can put into an event.
A lot of them struggle, especially a lot of the northern boys do also struggle to come down to a lot of the events. Tends to be the other main issue there. But yeah, about 100. Oh yeah, about 180.
How long does it take to so the guys in the north? How long would it be for them to travel? I assume you drive, right?
Yeah. So coming from Burnie, it's I think about 5 hours, something along those lines.
It's more like 3 and a bit. So like,
is it a bit 3 and a bit? Okay. Yeah, because I know nonsense is about 2.5. So and they're another hour.
You haven't allowed for the constant roadworks, Henry.
There we go.
Quite a hefty trip for them.
Yeah. Okay. So it's actually obviously it's a relatively big island for the sound of things. No, it's not like a 30-minute drive down the road by any stretch of the imagination. It's actually quite a bit of a trip. So, but in your scene, is it more like competitive?
Oh.
Oh no, Sam's
Adam's affecting everybody now.
Australia cannot manage 4 live streams at once. The internet can't deal with it.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Well, can you guys? Is it back? Sorry, gents.
Yeah, go on, Sam. Start talking.
All good. So I was asking. So, in terms of Hobart, so what is your scene like? Is it more narrative, like based, like Crusade, or is it casual, or is it competitive mindset? Like, what's the sort of scene like for the most part?
Well, I guess the best way to put it is I think a lot of the scene was built based on the tournaments that were being run at the time. And so it's kind of built up from that competitive side. But a lot of people, especially the ones that don't necessarily come to the tournaments, play, Crusades and that sort of narrative stuff. And even I know a lot of the competitive guys also go and play, they're kind of more like fun, fluffy kind of lists and stuff in their garages and whatnot. But definitely the scene kind of like directly viewable is heavily competitive. But everyone's still, there's a lot of people who just, run what they have, but run it in competitive style. So,
yeah. We have such a small community that we try and make sure that the events we run have something for everyone. So if you want to turn up and try your very hardest to be best general at the end of the 5 games, then you can do that. Or if you just want to turn up and play with your toy soldiers that you've spent time hobbying on and have a good time and maybe eat some banana bread, you can do that too. So we're very much the size of the community means that we need to, make sure that the events that we do run have something for everyone, regardless of, what you're looking to get out of the game.
Yeah, fantastic. Right. So obviously COVID sadly happened. It was a thing. So how has the community evolved since then? Like, did it sort of isolate and has since grown, or has it sort of remained the same since, or has it shrunk?
Well, Tassie basically ignored COVID for the first about 12 months of the pandemic. So, to be honest, probably even almost 18 months. It was only when all the borders started reopening fully, maybe December last year, that we had a proper spike in cases. So realistically, there was very, very little effect in our sort of community and area. Did lock us off from the rest of the state, which was a bit of, well, not the rest of the state, the rest of the mainland, which was a little annoying in that side of things. But it was definitely didn't really affect us.
When you say didn't affect you,
I think
is it like you guys just kept doing your own thing in isolation and like it wasn't too big of a problem? That sort of deal?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I think early in the piece we had, it's the same story as it is everyone. Oh, lockdown! I'm going to get so much hobby done and paint so many models, and I'll come back, and when we're having events again, I'll be like, I'll be studied up, and I'll know all of my profiles of all my units, and going to win. And then, of course, you don't because you don't. But yeah, I think we've got a good community in Tassie that has weathered COVID pretty well, I think.
Oh, that's good to hear. And so Ron Kremen in the chat talks about the mainland's lost stock being Tasmania. So what's it like collecting 40K in Tasmania? Is it pretty hard to get stock, or is it pretty easy, or do you suffer the perils of like every other Australian? Obviously, it's expensive for collecting 40K in Australia, but is it like more expensive in Tasmania, or is it harder to get, or is it even easier because you guys only have such a small community?
We're pretty lucky in Hobart, at least, that we've got like 2 big, good like local game stores, and there's a games workshop. So we're pretty well served, really, for the hobby. I mean, obviously, sometimes they don't get the order in the week you wanted, but I assume that's an everywhere issue. Yeah, it's pretty good. You have it pretty good, really.
Oh, that's good. Happy days. Might have to just move to Tasmania, just casually. Better than here.
Just like slowly moved through ever increased state sizes, Sam.
That's it.
Wait, no, is ACT count as a state? It's a territory, right?
It's a territory, yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah, state territory, same thing, different. But yeah, so obviously you talked about coming up this weekend. So for people who are unaware, there's the North and South GT. List submissions tonight for anyone who's watching who hasn't submitted their lists. Oi. But you guys, this is like a GT, and you hold this like every 6 months or so, roughly. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're trying to hold a GT kind of every 6 months. So the North and South GT we hold every year, and we try and encourage the northerners of the state to come down. So we comp a ticket price. And so that's like their vibe. But we're also keen to get mainlanders down. They're part of the north as well. So that's the theme of the North and South GT, is to try and get northerners down to play us in Hobart.
Yeah, fantastic. So do you have many people? So you talked about people from the mainland Australia. Do you have many people from mainland Australia coming down?
We haven't. So we had Matt Morrisoli brought a team down for our first teams event. So he stomped us, and that was good fun. And I think we've got a couple. I think the same kind of vibe. Matt, a couple of the Victorian, Adam Camilleri and Matt. And I think Stuart are coming down for this event. So that'll make good competition, hopefully, I think for some of our players. Cool. Yeah, we'd love to get more mainlanders down. It'd be great to, give us everyone new people to play against. It only improves the scene to bring new blood.
Yeah, so how far is the drive or travel from mainland Australia? So obviously Victorians are traveling from Melbourne, I'm guessing, is it straight to Hobart? Like, how long is that?
Yeah.
Is it like a ferry? There's obviously the Spirit of Tasmania.
How
ferry.
amphibious is your car, Sam? Maybe
you don't want to
drive.
You don't take Spirit.
So if you fly directly, you can basically go from Hobart to Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney. I think there's also maybe one to Canberra direct. So
and direct flights to Perth as well. Yeah.
Oh, to Perth as well. There you go. So you can basically go nearly everywhere in Australia on a direct flight for. I think you can get to Sydney 200 return, Melbourne's more like the 100 kind of thing, So it's not expensive, but ends up adding when you do it lots. So
yeah, and how long's roughly the flight from Melbourne?
That's about an hour, if that. To be honest, it takes more time going up and down than it does to actually fly.
Yeah, sounds about right. So, sweet. So you guys got a bit of mainland people coming in. So do you guys generally also try and travel for events, or do you just try and stay locally in Tasmania and keep in your little island, or do you guys get the chance to travel to mainland Australia for events?
So I've traveled to 3 events, 4 events now, actually. So My first event was the first VGC, and I loved it, and so I've been trying to travel more. I know Liam's traveled to a few events.
Yeah, I've been busy.
Yeah, you know, it's for me, it's very much a case of, you know, as disposable income allows, time and life circumstances permit. But, you know, like, I think there's more of an interest in traveling in the community kind of post-COVID, and, you know, with the hype around ATC and WTC, those kind of team events and traveling with your mates to a team event is very much, you know, a really, really cool experience that you can have as part of the hobby. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if we see more and more Tasmanians turning up at more of these big events. I know there's already a pretty big crew heading towards Uprising Adelaide next year. I'm sure we'll field an ATC team again next year and do even better than ACT next time.
Hey, come on, we could start there.
We did better than New Zealand because we actually showed up. So, you know.
Hey. I was keen to go, all right? It was the lads up north organising that were like, oh, nah, a bit worried.
Excuses.
I mean, yeah, it literally is an excuse. I don't know what more you want from me. We're working on a South End now.
Oh, fantastic. So obviously you mentioned team events there. So, and I know last year, or actually earlier this year, the Tasmanian team championships, but are more events locally, like your GT size events or major sort of events, like singles, or are they more team focused?
We've only run the one team event so far in March this year. So, but it's definitely, you know, our events are very much based on what our community is interested in. So if people are more keen to play singles, we'll do that. If people want to have more one-day kind of events, if people want to have, you know, more larger or weird point sizes, or if people want more team events, you know, because we're such a small community and we want people to come to our events, we make sure that, you know, we're giving the community what they want. I think particularly when the 8 of us came back from ATC and with WTC about to happen, like, the time is ripe for team events. So yeah, maybe we'll look at running another one. It really depends on what the community wants us to do.
I must agree. There was a big turnout for our last team event, which was a lot of people that don't normally come to the singles ended up coming out of the woodworks in these teams of 3, which came from kind of nowhere. You know, a lot of new faces, which I'd seen around in some of the stores and stuff, but never actually at one of the events, ended up coming and were there and were, you know, really enjoying themselves in that kind of different atmosphere. So I reckon definitely we'll see more team events down here almost for sure, but we'll make sure they're at least 4-player because the 3-player one was a little tricky.
Yeah, teams can be real good though to just like get a few people out of the woodwork, right? Like if you've got a Garage Hammer sort of group of people, they'll be like, oh, there's this thing, let's go along together and have a laugh. And
yeah, that's exactly it. And because it's so small, such a small community, there's a lot of those guys just in the garage who, you know, don't have time to commit on a weekend, or, you know, don't really want to go out and do this sort of stuff. But if they're going out with, you know, their 2 other garage mates, you know, they have their own little fun in their own little bubble, which is, you know.
And because like there's still always like this sort of stigma around tournaments, rightly or wrongly. But then, yeah, going out with mates, it can be a bit more. And, yeah.
Yeah, you can feel a bit more inclusive when, you know, if you're going into a room of 40 people who are all hardcore players you've never really met before, it can be very intimidating.
Yeah.
Very much so. Very much so. So, what's your terrain like in Tasmania? Is there like a certain sort of style of terrain you like to play, or does it depend from store to store to store, venue to venue? Like, what's the general gist?
So, for our events, we've got a big collection of terrain we keep at the store we run it at. So we've got like all these tubs that they keep for us. It's growing. Most of it's like MDF ruins that we've, you know, from different. We've got a local guy who makes us we bought some online. And then there's obviously.
We do joke occasionally about the Hobart Forest meta because anytime we travel interstate, no one ever has forests. So we quite like a good forest down here in Tassie. So we do joke about the Hobart Forest meta.
Dense cover everywhere. Just dense.
Oh, great.
You going to drag out that picture, Sam?
It sounds like you shared something also with Christchurch 40K. I don't. There was an image of the event that Alex Taus attended recently, which was literally the whole board was forest in a little house. It's like it was fucking against some poor sisters player.
It's the So it's a teams event, and I call it the Cavcon special. This table where because you know how every wargaming club has the tub of is he gonna go find? He's gonna go find it. Every wargaming club has the tub of of the base, the MDF bases with the grey and green, brown and green stuff, and then the trees that you stick on them, right? And there's just all of them have it because I think historicals or whoever wants it, and so. In the theme of teams and variety and strategy or something like that, we end up with there we go, the table that is all forests and trees.
That's amazing! What a table!
And so I've ended up on this back-to-back years at Cavcon, and I've had knights both times, of course, which leads to a lot of flack. It was problematic this time because I was running Chaos Knights that just want to hit you in combat, so although being slower was a bit problematic. But no, the year before into Sisters with Megara that ignored dense cover as well, so it's actually just a bowling ball. So that's
nice.
There we go. Sidetrack. You're happy, Sam?
I love that.
Yeah.
Unimpressed. Well, there we go. Hobart and Christchurch had something common that we never knew.
Bring your Emperor's Children and your Iron Warriors. Ignore them all beautifully.
Yeah, there we go. Secret success.
Do we need to grudge you guys at ATC next year? Sounds like it'll laugh.
Play all the dents. So, obviously, you guys talked about you have a couple of LGSs in locally in Hobart. Is that where you play your events at? Are the LGSs, or do you sort of rent a venue? What's the gist?
So, the venue we have our events at is called Area 52. Shout out to Andrew and the guys there. So they've got their current venue is an old camping store. So you imagine there's an upstairs where they used to have all the tents and stuff on display. That's where we have all our tables. So it's a really good venue. They've been extremely supportive of the community and of us running the events there. So we don't have to rent. They sort out the prizes, so everyone gets good deals. Andrew loves giving stuff away from his stash. Sometimes he'll get spot prizes, and it'll just feel
you would a gas burner or something.
Unit. It's you can't get, and he's oh, this is just for
highlights for me are some vintage metal squats on trikes have made their way into a prize one time, and just a random Case-Dis assault ram.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Yeah, that went to what? Best painted, I think it was. Just got a giant forward-rolled tank, flying tank thing. It was great.
Oh man, I'm glad that as well. Camping stores, it's just ubiquitous that there's an upstairs, it's like a mezzanine floor, right? That has the tents.
Yeah.
The all camping stores just need a is it reserved if you build a building like that has the mezzanine floor? It's right, and we don't advertise this, but we're only accepting offers from camping stores. Or do they go and look specifically for them? Yeah.
So no stuffed animals or stuffed giveaways prizes just yet? No, nothing from out back.
No. So this event will be a bit bittersweet because it is the last event at the current location. The store is actually moving about 1 block down the road to a larger space with more facilities. So I think it'll be just as good, if not better. But it's a bit of a farewell to the current Elizabeth Street address, and it'll be a good event.
You need to update us on the mezzanine floor status of the new venue.
I think it's all on one level. I don't think the new floor.
Yeah,
I
think we're off to the bottom of a hotel, so something along those lines, which is nice. But
alrighty, yeah. Does that mean the hotel's got a bar attached that you can?
I've heard different things. I'm not 100% sure, but I have heard the possibility of a license being involved. So that makes everyone down here very excited because we all enjoy a bit of beer hammer more than probably anything. So,
and just important for podcast listeners, Liam was furiously stroking his chin as he was going on about the beer hammer. The man's been scheming up.
So you can talk to Soli and stuff about last team event when we literally at each individual break we're off down the bar, but out the fire exit stairs, and there's a bar. We're all down there drinking. Then afterwards, we're all there for like 4 or 5 hours drinking after the event as well. So it's definitely a time.
Oh yeah. Next time you don't even have to leave, so happy days. Might be some very poor rounds, like towards the very end. I mean,
the reason we stomped us all because we were all drinking and hungover the night before.
Oh, fantastic! So obviously, alluded to before. So list mission is tonight. What are some like expectations heading in? So you got like how many players you got roughly attending, and like are there some big expectations in terms of armies to join? Or like, is there going to be a lot of sisters or chaos? The Nidzilla? What's happening? What are the expectations?
So I think we're at
Trike's coming out.
I think we're at about 40 players at the moment with the usual with the usual attrition. I guess maybe 36 on the day. I'm actually really excited to see the diehard Necron players who have only played Necrons for years. And now they're like pretty schmick. I'm actually excited for those guys who have like rocked up event after event and ended up in like, the bottom quarter of tables, just absolutely, punching face, taking names and having a good time. So that's what I'm looking forward to most, I think.
Yeah. So I think the Necron player to watch might be Tyler. He's been grinding away, playing good games, but now the Necrons are powered up. I think he's going to be a player to watch for the event because Necron's a beast mode now. So
yeah, it's one of those interesting. Sorry, Henry, go for it.
Yeah, we've also got a few Tyranid players, quite a lot of Marine players in the Hobart meta. So it's interesting to see how Marines are doing with the new rules. Yes. Is there any other factions out there?
Well, it's one of those funky situations because we've got such a small pool of people, and we have a lot of people who are either older players who are coming back or new players who are starting up. We've got a very, very varied set of armies that people have access to, and not a lot of people will take meta choices, especially. They'll play what they have in a lot of cases. They'll try and, make it strong or as competitive as they can, but you'll end up with a couple of odd things popping up here and there that don't meet the meta, but, will be competitive enough in a sense. So it's hard to really say, we're not going to see a whole lot of Chaos Space Marines because there's only, 4 Chaos Space Marines players down here. So, same with Necrons, same with Nids. I think there's only 3 Nid players I can think of off the top of my head who will probably be playing Nids. There's a surprising amount of Necron players. I think there's maybe 5, I imagine. There'll probably be a few Towers knocking about. There's always a few cupboard Towers. I think there's 2 Eldar players in the entirety of Hobart. I think only probably one of them will be there. So it's one of these really...
I think you should get a couple more.
You should
they're okay.
You should open with that one Eldar at your event figure when you're trying to advertise for people to come along.
Yeah, we got 1 Eldar. We have 3 Nids, if that. We got 12 to 20 Space Marine players. So there's always wonderful flavors of that. We'll have a lot of Knights. That's something that always comes out. There's always Knights down here, and a surprising amount of Pocket Tower. A lot of old Riptide players which are coming back out of the woodwork.
It sounds a bit familiar. You probably end up with sort of faction specialist players more than people jumping around a whole bunch and all that. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
because it's all
and
what they have. Not so much I've bought the latest meta or I've got the latest meta just old in the cupboard. It's I've got the Tower and I'm bringing my Tower because that's all I've got.
Yeah. And I brought this new tech unit that I've got set up for
This my one purchase for the last 3 months is this Riptide. It's suddenly super exciting, or this one Storm Surge which I've now got 3D printed from somewhere or whatever. It's very much not you don't walk into a tournament and there's 7 Nidzillas and 5 of the new Word Bearers armies and whatnot. It's people have been running the same thing for the last 10 years and that is what will continue to be run.
and you'll have like the same 10 or so names sort of like populating the top tables with like the same army that they bring all the time, regardless of whether or not it's great. And
yeah, within reason. There are a few. There's always a few pocket cases or a few people who do have 2 or 3 armies like myself. Like I was Sisters, 6 months ago. I've been Tau these last few months, and now I'll be Chaos from here. But a lot of people will do exactly that. Yeah, you'll have the same Necron guy who's been running for the last 4 years with Necrons is still there and is still up in the top.
Yeah. That sounds really familiar to hear, and it's probably like the whole small area and like cost of things just
correct. Yeah. A lot of the people that play are either young kids, in that like between the 18 to 23 kind of bracket. Or they're all in their 40s with families, so they neither can really heavily commit into that financial area of buying a new army to just play the meta or anything like that. So
just no in between, just that. It's just like your age gap.
Yeah, to be honest, it is about right. Like out of the 3 people here, you can see it right there. Henry and I are in that lower kind of gap. Adam's over in the top gap.
I'll have I'm comfortably double income, no kids, so I could go and be the meta if I wanted to. So, but I think there's also a large contingent of our community that's more about the hobby, and the event is an excuse to get 5 games in on a weekend against 5 other awesome people and have a good time. So, and I really like, as I said before, that our events can cater to people who want that hardcore competitive, trying really hard to go 5-0 experience, and people who just want to, play with the thing that they've spent hours painting white on and take the list that is fully painted.
Are you glancing aside at something specific there, Adam?
I've been painting Solar Watch Custodies for about a year now, and I'm Gold Edge highlights. If I wanted to collect Chaos, I would be there. But yeah, the list I'm taking next weekend is the what I have painted, because I've had enough painting list. So
good, man. As someone who's also painted Custodies not on the straight gold scheme, though, you get so over being like, why to decide to paint all of the trim individually?
You also got 2 Chaos players here who know exactly the pain.
And physical pain.
Trim.
Like the spikes all over the models. Who decided that was a good idea? Why do people like that?
God, you're trying to hold the Chaos Marines is like impossible. You're like bleeding. You got like thimbles and band-aids covering your head. You've still only done 10 Marines. 1,500 points of army to go yet.
You need one of those chainmail gloves that chefs have for doing fish.
Chainmail's not good at piercing though. Like, you just go straight through. You got to get like the blacksmith giant.
Like gardening gloves? Gardening gloves, right? The ones with like rose bushes and stuff? That'll do it, yeah.
That'll do it.
You guys need a best gloves for 40k hobby segment, I think, on your next show.
They should put that on like a bingo card or something.
Yeah. Oh, the bingo card. Oh, God.
There has to be a tier list of gloves for 40k painting. There we go.
Yeah.
Someone get on those Art of War boys for their next Tuesday show.
Yep.
There we go. Too funny.
Oh,
but yes,
man.
I've always heard that the trick is you spray it all gold, then you paint the inside, is what I've heard. I don't know if it actually works, but I've heard from thousands of players that's the way to do it.
Yeah, it can work depending on what you're doing on the inside. Like my bright blue Marines don't really work when you spray them all gold first, because the blue comes out too dark in that regard. So yeah, if you're really planning for it, it works, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right, well, you alluded to it just literally before, so as part of this event, there's a bingo card. So on the screen for our podcast listeners or video audience, yes, we got a bingo card which the boys at North and South GT have designed. So tell us about it. So Henry, you're the TO for the event. So tell us, what is this bingo card all about, and what does it do basically?
This is Adam's brainchild, so I'll let him talk.
All right.
Okay, handball received. I don't even know where it came from. Like, somebody, I think, said something about, hey, it would be cool to do a bingo thing, and I was like, yeah, I'm the sort of person who loves a good spreadsheet. So we thought it'd be a cool alternative way to play for those people who are not not trying real hard to win real hard, but to, have a good experience and kind of, you can play for the bingo and there'll be a prize for it. Instead of going for best general or best painted or best sports or best overall, play bingo, play 5 games and try and fill in all 25 squares. Did when you were reviewing it, did you have a particular favorite, Sam? One that jumped out at you and said, I would try and do that in every game?
Oh, mate, it's not like I would try and do it. It literally just happens in games. There's obviously a betrayal of the dice gods. Command reroll a 1 into a 1. That literally happened, I think, my last game of 40k, where Tyranny Warriors tried to advance. It's like, they roll the 1s. Like, I really need anything but a 1. CP reroll into a 1. So there we go, done and dusted.
Was that on TTS? Was I watching that, Sam?
Probably. Look, it just happens. It happens. Yeah. It is what it is. But
we've got the same as a local TO. Like the curse of the snake-eyed god is what he calls it. Is CP reroll a 1 to 1? Yeah. And it's like double points if he's had it actually as a secondary for like fluffy custom missions before. And like if you do it on 2d6, snake eyes into snake eyes, it's like bonus points. It's pretty good.
Oh my god.
Nice.
I can only imagine the pain that would be snake eyes on dude ice into double snake eyes again. Oh.
I had
on that famed forest table, one of my war dogs rolled a combined 5 on 4 dice to try and charge some plague marines while he was touching a forest.
Oh, nice.
He wasn't feeling it.
No.
They're like 3 inches away. It's like, nah, not doing it, Chief.
Jeez.
But no, these are fantastic. And I think these are a great way initiative. Like, as you said, encourage people to participate in the whole tournament whilst, even if they're not like going for the top spot. Like, I think it's a great way to incentivize players and go for the bingo. I know, so Ratlander in the chats talk about the AOS group ran it for a few of their events. I've heard this is like a very popular thing in the AOS community, both like locally in Australia, also overseas. So I know, like, for some of the, like, I guess more fun events, they say who killed the most monsters over the course of the event got a prize and stuff like that. So I think it's fantastic. And even if it's not a competitive event, I think you can still have these sort of things that just a fun thing to do, and they're not like hard things to do. Like just a roll a natural 12 on a charge, kill a unit when firing Overwatch, kill an enemy warlord. It's just fun. There's little fun things to do. So
the goal is definitely to make them very accessible. There's nothing on there that's do this weird rules interaction that no one's going to know. It's very much about stuff that might happen occasionally. But yeah, it's designed to be pretty accessible for new players and for veteran players. And I'm particularly like the spirit of the game stuff, that's about how you play the game, not what happens in the game, which I think is, for me, that's the most important part of the hobby in any event.
Your opponent reminds you of a rule you forgot is a pretty great one. Like that you could do. There's a lot you could do on that, right? Like of reminding an opponent, like, you were going to move this model, or like, did you want to move that guy, or like, what about that charge? Because that's the thing that comes in all the time, right? In a game where you like finish your charge or you finish the fight phase and you look over and like, that dude's like 2 inches away from some idiots. He was meant to go hit them.
God, it happens way more times than I'd like to admit.
Yeah.
I just get too excited. I'm just like, I want to kill. I'm going to pick up my dice, start rolling, and then halfway through, you're like, I didn't finish the charge phase.
And I really feel like you want to feel like you won because you made superior tactical decisions and you outplayed your opponent, not they forgot to do a thing and that means they lost. Like, to me, that's and it, it creates good vibes when you remind your opponent, oh, hey, you're shooting, what about your psychic phase? I mean, everyone's forgotten a psychic phase, right?
Yeah. What about your bio action, Sam?
Oh, Biovore. I said at the start of the game, I've done 4 games in a row. I said at the start of the game, Biovore is like, so for everyone knows, Biovore is to do the indirect action to do spore mines. And it's a weird thing. It's like at the start of the shooting phase, do the action, and it's not resolved until the end of the shooting phase. But like, I'm playing Tyranids. There's a bloody charge phase. So I go for the shooting phase, and I'm like, right to charges. And I was like, halfway through charges, I'm like, Biovore spore mines. Sorry. I'll say every single game, I'm like, I'm always doing the action, and irrespective of that, I always forget. I'll get there eventually, hopefully. But yeah, I think that's a great incentive, and just encourage good sportsmanship and good behavior. And look, you might get a reward along the way. So fingers crossed. But yeah, I've always seen one also that's like explode, like so a vehicle or monster explodes and then it causes another explosion. It's like a really hard to get one. But I remember I think the Warzone Atlanta one, they ran that, and like in the first round, like 3 people did it. It was like one of those random instances, like where someone they just all did it. So but,
I've seen back-to-back chains of Leviathan dies, blows up, kills a Leviathan, dies, blows up, gets the third of the dude's Leviathans, and they were like, they blow up on a 5 with a 9-inch range or something. It wiped like most of his characters with these 3. It was hard to watch, dude.
I've had a similar one where it was 2 Defilers charging 2 Imperial Knights. Like that was a great. It was characters in there. There was monsters in there. It was great. It was just this big fight off in the middle, and 1 Defiler punches a knight. Knight explodes, kills the Defiler. The Defiler explodes. The knight dies. Auto explodes. Kills literally everything. I think there's like 3 characters dead. Both knights, and 1 Defiler limps out on 1 wound in this huge crater of just chaos. It was beautiful.
What an absolute champion. I love everything about that.
Sometimes I do miss the rules that let you have vehicle carcasses sitting around the table.
Dude, that was like, and everyone that had the rhinos that you turn them upside down and they were all like scratched up and scarred, and you had like that one going on.
Yeah, those are the glory days.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure on those traditional Good Forest Hobart tables, you had a couple of vehicles along the way also that become what's the term? They rolled a 1 and just like sat there. They're immobile, whatever it is.
Because you were too stingy to pay the 5 points or whatever for a dozer blade, and you were like, Rhino just decides, no, we're not transporting today. We're a box.
You could roll a 6 to. Rhinos can repair themselves. So at the start of every turn, you're like, am I going to repair my Rhino and have it move? No. Am I gonna...
It always feels like Monopoly, like we get out of jails. Like, do I pay the dollars or roll the doubles? Like, yeah, come on, double.
That's like the early and 8th sort of rules that things had, right? Like the Chimeras with the amphibious vehicle thing. It's like they ignore water features when they're moving or something. It's like there's not terrain rules in the rulebook for water features.
We totally need it.
Yeah, we need something that ignores forests. That's what we need. God.
Yeah.
Too many forests. So many forests.
Oh, fantastic. So, before we announce the show, in our Patreon, we had some questions from some listeners. So, Nick Werp in the chat asked, about the Tasmania meta. So, every now and then I see a Tasman event with some wacky sisters list, either Argent Shroud or Valorous Heart or something. Are there some sister sharks down there in Tasmania? And I'm led to believe there's actually 2 of our top sisters players on this podcast. So, maybe starting with Liam. So, sisters aficionado.
So I think the two main ones I played was the Argent Shroud, which is the one I did mainly through 9th after their book came out. That was with pen and engines and all that sort of stuff, which was a bit weird for the time. So that was all the way up until Uprising. And before that, I believe my Bloody Rose triple immolator lists got featured on Gonghammer twice. So that's those are the glory days of my immolators. I've still got
the
4
claim to fame.
Someone's Rob from Sister Act there is just cheering with proud joy. Hearing that Mortifier spam is a thing in Tasmania. So there we go. Yeah. That's what the secret is.
Well, I was running 8 Mortifiers for a long time, so we were all there. I was running Valorous Heart all through 8th edition, and that was a little spicy. Not many people, I didn't see any other events who were running Valorous Heart doing well, but everyone hated it. Everyone in Talbot, you rock up to a table, you're like, yeah, I ignore AP -2, suck it. And they'd be like, I hate you, Henry. Why are you doing this to my army?
And the old edition was mortified.
What was the
in 9th, I've been running a bit more Bloody Rose because Valorous Heart isn't as good, and in teams events you really have to play the most competitive thing if you want to help your team out. So you can't have your own little personal tech choices as much. But in 8th I love Valorous Heart. The problem was when I got featured by Goonhammer, they just like, yeah, this is a generic sisters list. And I was screaming internally. I was like, no, but it's Valorous Heart. It's different, guys.
Yeah, what's the did you guys ever have the like oops all engines list where it's like all Predator engines Nundums led by like Val? So everything is just one of the mech suits.
I've so wanted to do that for so long, but getting the models to do that is like selling a kidney. It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think if we pooled all the sisters in Hobart, we could probably do it, but it would be glorious.
I think we could do it. I've got 6 war suits, so like
I've got 3.
Make it work.
And I know I have 8 Penitent engines. You have 8 mortifiers. We both have Vals. Like, we could probably get there. I could maybe even pull in some old metal Penitent engines.
Yeah.
So they're a bit big nowadays, but...
And then bring some old socks for like if it goes sideways, you need to take it out of the parking lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Coming to an event near you in Tasmania, just all the engines. Hell yeah.
Someone will be very sad if it goes against that.
All right. Well, so in the chat we have Aiden. Oh, sorry. Well, apologies. We have Rolfus to begin with. So we have, why are Necron players so good looking?
That'd be local Necron player and sometime YouTube Bat Rap filmer Nathan. And the reason is why are Necron players so good looking? It's because they're immortal.
I was going to say, is it because it takes so long for them to like wake up their morning routine? They're all busy like fixing themselves up in the heck. That's why it took like 3 buffs in all of 9th edition for them to actually wake up and become a good army.
They got great skincare routine. It's whole time.
All the time we spend hobbying, they just spray silver and they're done so they can take care of themselves. Is that it?
Do they have a great skincare routine though? The only Necrons with skin are the flayed ones, and it's looking pretty average on those.
Hey, I don't know. Those guys, for a skinless race, I think those guys are doing pretty well.
Okay, yeah.
Plus, you really gotta, like, skincare is also like the polishing. Like, you got to get the nice polish, get the shine happening. You know, you got to take lessons from Elbricht's servitor. Like, you know.
Yeah, they're polishing the sword. You gotta like iron your face flat to like be the Art of War tier list Necron logo. Because it looks like the whole like someone's just like flattened and widened the face for that thing.
Oh, fantastic! Well, there we go. Secret to success: just be a Necron player, or be at least good looking. I mean, you'll enjoy your time in the sun at least for now. Then just go back to your dungeon of D tier.
Yeah, enjoy it while it lasts, Nathan.
All right, on to the next one. So we have Aiden in the chat. So, what is your favorite worst unit? So we'll hand it off to Henry first. What is your favorite worst unit?
I mean, the problem is I play sisters, so we don't really like. There are no bad units. You're just like you can throw anything you wanted from the book, and it's good.
What's the organ tank? Is that still bad? Is that bad?
I've been running it and it's fine, but like you know, it's not great. But like the Exorcist, I rate Exorcists. Everyone used to say the Castigades were bad, so I wish I could say that. But Art of War have been like promoting them, and now everyone thinks they're great.
Cassie the Castigator.
All you have to do to make a unit good, you don't change its stats, is you just have like John Lennon say it's good, and then suddenly.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Liam? What's your favorite worst unit?
I've been trying to think of an answer because I love all of the terrible units. There are so many good ones, and probably my favorite unit is no longer terrible, and that's really annoying. Because I loved Warp Talons before they actually became something that's usable. You know, I was literally running these last few months of the Chaos book. I was running a list with Be'lakor, a Lord of Change, 20 Warp Talons, and it was a thing of beauty. And I'm really sad because now they're really expensive, so I can't run a lot of them. And
they're like 20 in one unit.
No, you can still only run 10 in one unit, but they're like 28 points each now. So it's hard to get more than, you know, like a handful in your list without having like 50% of your army be warp talents, which is, I love the idea, but probably not quite the sensible choice.
Can you give them like a sergeant with the -1 to wound relic instead of the Terminator brick?
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah. To be honest, I'm giving the -1 to wound to the possessed blob. Whew, that is a hard to kill unit. 20 Sangard with 12 Inferno pistols killed 6 of them. That was a time.
Wrong. Adam, what's your favorite worst unit?
It's going to be that incredibly lovely painted Telemon Dreadnought that's sitting on the shelf over there that I hobbied really hard on and painted really nice.
I'm sure you just upset a whole bunch of people by calling a Telemon a worst unit, by the way.
It's cool and it's fun, but it just doesn't do enough for how much you pay for it. I'd rather have that many points in OBSEC troops or infantry. It's just not good.
I do have a secondary answer.
Oh,
sorry. Yeah.
No, you go.
I have 2 fully painted repulsor executioners that were great in 8, and they haven't seen play once in 9.
Are they by chance like fully painted in black with like some hands that are silver colored on them?
No, so I ran them as Ultramarines when I was running them. Bits like a bit my own spice, but it was all trash.
The old Calgar reroll everything on the executioners. That was the thing.
Who else has a fully painted repulsor executioner sitting in the bottom of a box?
Hey, there is one seeing play at the moment in Hobart. There's a lad running around with a Templars executioner.
Oh, no, dude. The thing at the start of 8, I ran. It was what was it? Bobby G and the Terminus Ultra, the Land Raider with 8 las cannons each.
Yeah,
that was Lord of War. Like him plus 2 of them in a detachment.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
We got a couple of Malkadors knocking about as well. The 7 las cannon just spintle tank rolls about. It's like 300 points and just has 7 las cannons on 4s. It is a sad time. Because it's an Imperial Guard unit.
Yeah.
It's also 18 wounds, so it's just like, I can see you. This is fine. It is a sad time for the old Malkador.
Sam, do you have a favourite worst unit?
Oh, it has to be Gene Steals. Like Gene Steals got me into 40k, and I love them ever since. Like they epitomize what I want to do in 40k, and I see 120 Gene Stealers on my display cabinet. Just sad.
What do you mean? They get you 2 CP on Mission 11.
Stop. Yeah, that's definitely it for sure. But pure strain Gene Stealers and GSC are just amazing, so they're okay. But just Gene Stealers and Nids are just so sad. But Chelsea, what about you?
I think it has to be the Night Valiant. There's probably other ones, but the Night Valiant is just like that. It's so good. It's like it's so bad, but like such a just champion of it. It managed to get worse with the new book. Like, it's debatable, but so the Harpoon got longer range, but you can't take the good Relic Flamer anymore that gave it reroll wounds, right? So it's slower, right? Like it was already a 10-inch move. Now it's down to 8. Just why? It now has 3 attacks in melee that hit on 4s. That's it. This thing that needs to get close to you to use its weapons, and it's worse. I thought for sure the Harpoon, the massive one arm of a knight's gun that is a single shot, 12 or 18-inch range gun. Surely it gets a hammerhead treatment, right? And you ignore involves.
Nope.
Just I don't think people would be mad, right? Like, would anyone be mad if that Harpoon ignored involves? Just
no. It'd be funny when you roll 1 into a 1 and just cry.
Yeah, it's still gonna miss. It's not like a hammerhead that you take them and there's 2 different steps. That means they get a reroll to hit and a reroll to wound. It's no. This guy's just raw dogging his 3 up to hit, and then
he's maybe 4 to wound because transhumans a thing.
Yeah.
Too good. All right. Well, sadly we're running out of time tonight, but to finish things off, so what's the plan for the rest of the year for the Tasmania scene? So obviously got North and South GT this weekend. Starting with you, Henry, what's the plan for the rest of the year from yourself or from an event organizer perspective?
Oh, he's not.
You got yourself muted, Henry.
So on the schedule, we've got one event in November, I believe, the Hobart GT. So that's our big GT. We have a shield. We'll promote that pretty heavily. We'll try and get lots of lads down for it. And so that, if I bring up the event, is on the 6th of November, 5th and 6th of November. So we're keen for that. We might run like a one-day event in between, get some people, get people playing some more 40k. Me personally, I'll be in Adelaide for Uprising in January, so I'm really excited for that. Yeah.
How about you, Adam? What have you got? Some personal goals or any event organizer goals?
I'm focused on building for next year's ATC at the moment. So recruiting players who are interested to get across the format and hopefully come and stomp ACT wherever it ends up being held next year, Sam. So that's kind of my main focus after the GT next weekend. That's what I'll be up to. If you're interested in being part of the Tassie team, come have a chat to me at the GT or get in touch.
Yeah, fantastic. And we'll include a link to this. So is Warhammer 40k in Tasmania is the link, basically, for to join the ATC team? Yep.
Yeah, that's the one.
We'll just chuck a link in the description down below, so for anyone who's watching back. And Liam, how about yourself? What are some goals, aspirations?
Well, I'm possibly going to be at RatCon in September, which could be cool. I'm looking at bringing up a team for Maitland in October. So I've had Josh McMillan on me about that one, saying it'd be a good time to bring some lads up, do some practice. So that's definitely on the cards. Uprising, obviously. Definitely going to that one again. I'm winning the Shield this year. That is happening. I don't care what anyone else says. It's mine.
I just want someone from not the North Coast to win.
Oh god. Well, I mean, to be fair, like Shannon's not a North Coaster, so let's something at least. But no, we don't want Shannon winning.
Fair enough. No, no one likes Shannon. No, he's a good dude. We met him at ACT, so and if for context, so ACT and Tasmania fought, we drew last ATC, so hopefully, ACT get us up next time, obviously, but we'll see what happens. It'll be good to see you guys again next year. So, also, so leave things off. So, thank you again for your time tonight. Really, really appreciate it. And for anyone who's interested in playing 40k in Tasmania, check them out. And appreciate you all and join back to the rest of the episode. Thanks, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you to Adam, Henry, and Liam, who were part of helping start that conversation, and support the guys if you can for the North and South GT in Tasmania. And good to hear from, I guess, not mainland Australia. So hear from, I guess, the convicts of Australia. Fun fact: 75% of the people that live there have, at one stage in a generation, had a convict. So that's where you hear it's facts. Taos, you may squint. That is facts. Like Tasmania was not.
Isn't like so? Is it like the convict island of a nation that was founded on being like a prison colony?
Yeah, so it was like the main prison colonies, my understanding. Like all the prisoners went there, and like it's just sort of growing out, like Van Dam Island or something like that. I think off the top of my head, I remember reading it because I was just curious, and like Tasmania was like 75% of people, like at one in their generational lineage, one person was a convict or like had a criminal history, which is hilarious.
I mean, if you don't like to simplify it, you could almost just say it's the New Zealand of Australia.
Oi, hey now. Right, you dirty West Islander.
You walked right into that, mate, to be fair.
Mate, I'm not walking anywhere. I'm stuck at home quarantined. Do we have something to talk about, Sam? Save us from ourselves, please.
We do indeed, Mr. Taos. Thank you, we do. So for the rest of this topic, before we answer some listener questions, we just had a little topic about setting goals and aspirations for the rest of the year. So obviously Nephilim's out, and basically towards the end of the ITC season, if it's anything like I guess this year, we'll be playing Nephilim until the ITC championships roll up, which for us is basically Uprising. So I guess Benny Way wanted to talk about, I guess, setting goals and how are we going to find things in this new Nephilim world. So I guess I'll lead off with myself. So obviously come back with Nephilim. It's a brand new world. And obviously over the break, I had the chance to sort of reconsider how things are. And what my priorities are. So for me, I want to play Tyranids. Like Tyranids are my first and only, or my first love for Warhammer 40k, and I love the army to bits, and I really want to play the army. So I haven't had the chance to play consistently for a long, long time. So I think between now and Uprising, I'm just going to be exclusively playing bugs and all things Gribbly. So that's the idea and plan. And then the biggest focus for me, though, is growing the local scene. So right now we have applications open for our ANZ Team Championship team, so the state and regional rep team. So that nomination process and stuff has opened up. So administering that and making sure we have a good team going for that. So that is what my big focus is, as well as sort of running the local tournaments and scenes. So we're looking to get a bit more consistent 2K games and get people involved in that competitive 40K atmosphere, but having a good time while doing so. So for me personally, play some Tyranid games and just get really dug deep into that game and get some events under my belt. So, but more consistently hosting and TOing some 2K games and getting people involved in the community, because that's the biggest thing. Like I couldn't care less if people play an event or 2 events a year, as long as they're enjoying themselves and involved in the community and like find some people to connect with. That's the best part. So that'll be more than what I want. So what about you, Benny? What's some goals and aspirations you have? So you talked about how you have the New South Wales Team Championships in late October. You have some events as well. Do you have some other aspirations, maybe around your playing style and playing?
Well, so game-wise, like actually playing the game, I'm loving NIDS. Like they haven't honestly really clicked with me until honestly about 3 weeks ago. I've been putting up pretty. I've had a pretty poor season on NIDS until about 3 weeks ago. 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they started clicking a bit more. So I do feel like they are just going to come short in like the top end of a tournament a few times. Not necessarily all the time, but if they run into like a faction they don't want to play, or a faction that just farms points. So I think I've got a few factions, different factions. I'm just going to just try out after this weekend, just to get a feel for the one at the end of August. I have actually brought quite a lot of Chaos Space Marines, but that hobby is not going to be. There's a lot of hobby there. That I'm not going to be playing that till September, October, to be honest. But that looks really fun. But I think I'm just going to try and stay fluid and just kind of like, I'll see how this weekend goes. Obviously, it's a totally different terrain format, and honestly, it's a different meta. There's a whole different set of players going, from most of the field. So I just want to see how it goes and see how it sits with me. I love the way they play. I love the way they active in every phase. That I can influence the game in every phase, I think is more, or just be a part of it, at least. But I think, I'm going to have a play with some sisters and just see how they go. I did play Blood Angels the other week and just didn't enjoy it at all. But I might break them out for another run, see how that goes. And some GC the Cult potentially. But I think, I'm really interested to see how this Demons book shapes out as well, because I own quite a lot of Demons. I wouldn't have to. All I'd have to do would be buy some graders and some. Some of the new hot units that come out of nowhere, like Fiends, or I know Fiends are good now, but you know what it's like. In every new book, there's this one unit that no one ever has because they've always been terrible for like 10 years that pops out and it's good, like Tyrant Guard,
Rocket
for example.
Squig Buggies.
Yeah, there you go, and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess I'm just like trying to stay fluid, and but also just going to really enjoy, really enjoy the next event with NIDS, and then just go from there. Yeah. So I don't want to give up my NIDS though. If like NIDS still feel good, I'll be playing NIDS. So
yeah, fantastic. And I guess it's a benefit of having multiple armies where they're in a good state of meta. It's like, I got to play Sisters, I can play Bugs, I can play Blood Angels, but you got to pick your poison and just rock with something and play it. Hey,
yeah, I played Sisters solidly for like nearly 2 years, right? And I'm reluctant to go back to them quickly. If you know what I mean. I'm enjoying Bugs too much. I'm reluctant to go back to them because I played them for a long time, right? And and also looking forward to. I'm running a lot of events this year. Not a lot. I'll be running New South Wales Masters and the New South Wales Team Championship. I'm always helping TOs behind the scenes, helping run their events, but just like advising and stuff like that. So, you know, it's just going to be very fun. It's going to be great. I can't wait.
What about you, Kathy? So what do you got plans for the rest of the year? So obviously, you've done some MDF terrain cutting for a upcoming event, but what else have you got on the horizon planned?
Yeah, I mean, like, so I guess running an event or running my own is the thing I'm most keen on doing. I've had, annoyingly, the room I tried to book at uni it's not working out, so trying to get another room booking, basically. But yeah, I don't know, just play some games, float around whichever of the factions I am interested in. I mean, I'll probably work out whatever the 6 Dreadnought Triple Caladius list that Team USA submitted, like work out what that is, have a try, play it or something like that. I've got my my silly Yeet list for knights to play. Theoretically, I guess I'll try and work up to having a full 2K of Chaos Knights. Yeah, I don't
Surely
really...
you're just surely you're just building up towards absolutely wrecking at Adelaide Uprising, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're doing.
I'm hoping to get along there. I couldn't tell you what I'd be taking. Probably some flavor of either Knights or Custodians, because those are basically what I have. But no, I don't have any super set in stone plans. Just enjoy playing games. Yeah.
Fair enough, and we all have some idea in mind, but I'm sure it'll change. You never know when the next balanced data slate or thing will drop, so who knows? So
for sure, yeah. Or maybe GW will decide to just I don't know, like some terrain feature gets some weird ass keyword that changes all your things.
Everything has coincident ranges.
Yeah. You doing all right there, Ben?
Oh, and GW. Seemed like a good idea at the time. That'd be the classic epitome of that phrase, wouldn't it? Seemed like a good idea at the time, and yeah, then we forgot about pylons and the rest of the combat phase. So
the risk I took was calculated, but boy, am I bad at maths.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, well, to wrap up the show, so we got some questions from the audience. So, Patreon, people submitted some questions. So, to lead off the bat, we got Billy Harland, so host of 40K Today and the 40K Championship Series, so which is going really, really well. So, apologies, this week in 40K, apologies. But a question he has, so a fact I have in the back of my mind is that the Australian meta in particular is impacted by model availability / price. To what extent is this actually a fact? And how do you see it playing out? Related, is it true in the other regions of Frontiers? So I guess leading off anyway, so obviously you talked about Australia first. So do you find that true? Is model availability a big impact in our meta?
I think, look, it's like yes and no, right? Because 3D printers have changed everything, haven't they? So they've kind of and honestly, the top players, if you look at the top 5% of competitive players in anywhere, let alone Australia, they'll just find the models. They'll just get the models from somewhere, right? They will manage. It won't be like it's not out. They'll just be they'll have managed to either borrow something, print something, brought something for 4 times the value off eBay just so they can have that model to stay at the top, and stuff like that. So that's definitely a thing. I think mid-table wise, just for example, you still can't buy a Harpy in Australia, and you haven't been able to since Crusher Stampede came out. GW literally has no Harpies. So that's a thing. So yeah, it does affect it. The price is definitely a thing for your people for maybe growing the hobby is hard with kits being so expensive. Getting new players in there, mid-table players just being overbuying all these new kits for what feels like 40% more of the price than it was 2 years ago. There is a bit of that, but the top players seem to will just do whatever they need to do to stay up there. So I don't think that's a thing, you know. So, but yeah, no, I think Billy, you're right. Like, yeah, no matter scepters either. Menagerie AU, yes, that is correct. But yeah, no, it is a thing. It is a thing, but I do think that like if it only affects like probably about 80% of the field, you know. So, you know, like, because if you can't get it, because some people will just get it shipped over from the UK if they can, like, and stuff like that. Like, people do get that, can work around it, but it's the people who, you know, super competitive and they want to stay at the top, and it, you know, that's what they want to do. Yeah, that's what they do. And yeah, well, Feud knows what I'm like too. He's right. So Feud said we do like to be snowflakes running unique lists. That's all it is. So yeah, no, there is a bit of that. The meta is just different over here. Like it is, right? It's like the weather's different one place, so the meta's different. So you know, Australian 40k can seem a bit odd, but generally it's all built off the same data sheets, right? It's just different twists on things.
Yeah, for sure. And I think so to touch on other regions. So I know when we interviewed Suhoon, they said in South Korea, like they couldn't get Harlequins. Just Harlequins wasn't a thing, and obviously getting a Nephilim book was such a pain. So in terms of availability, but as you alluded to, Ben, like the top players, and like 80% is no joke though. Like if 80% of people can't get a thing, that's no laughing matter, and that's a shame. It's a real shame, and like encourages sadly some 3D printing of stuff and all that jazz. So. But like as you said, the top players will go out of the way to do some like international shipping orders. So ordering from the UK with a forward delivery service and sending, or if they have mates in other regions, just send them forward. So Taos, you got a similar mindset, like a similar, I guess.
You're even more expensive over there, right? In New Zealand, like you had like another 20% on than what we have. I'm pretty sure.
I think so. I mean, the usual conversion I do is whatever the price is in US dollars, double that amount, and that's the New Zealand dollars. It'll account for like currency conversion and like Games Workshop. You live in the wrong place conversion. But there's degrees of people can't find stuff. I'm trying to remember because I haven't had too much issue myself. Like the last time I wanted to get something, like the most recent thing I bought was the Chaos Knight box set, and that was just I was like, if I'll go down to the store, and if it's there, I'll blow a bunch of money. And it was. I spent money on sold the big guy and bought a couple more small guys. Made that work. But so I'm sure we'll have the same availability things here. I can't remember any stories specifically from local people, but there is degrees of that. Like for the longest time, you just couldn't get the Tyranids Codex here. Like it just couldn't get in the country. And so that can sometimes be a thing as well, where like maybe you'll be able to source models, but like official rules are just like don't exist. So yeah, it can be a thing. I don't know if it's any worse than anywhere else in the world to some extent, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that initial influx is a lot worse in that sense. Like, you got to be really early to get the hype units or that meta unit. Like, once you know something's going to be good, try to get it on as early as possible. Otherwise, good luck trying to find one because it'll take much longer than anticipated. So, but I think if you order it far in advance, like if you order like, I don't know, for example, obviously I guess Demons is around the corner, so maybe not the best example, but order maybe some like Drukhari units right now. Like I'm sure you could still get everything almost for the most part right now in Australia. So you sort of just got to predict a little bit, or maybe buy well in advance of when it actually becomes quote unquote good. And like for also context, the Tyranid book came out after the FAQ dropped. So the Tyranid book in Australia and New Zealand didn't actually officially come out until after the FAQ dropped. So look, that's how far delayed it was. But that's the first of anything I know of. So yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly pre-bandwagon is like hard. So like that's the trick. Is pre-bandwagon. I'm like a pro at it now. So like I've already like ordered certain little demon things that I know that I'm probably not going to be able to get, but I've heard rumors that are good. Just a couple little things. I've got loads of stuff, so I don't need to buy much. But it's mainly just like I've got to get a couple of big boys. That's all it is. So yeah, pre-bandwagon that stuff. It's the Aussie way. Everyone knows it. Or they print it. Basically, that's where we're at because the supply line is stuffed over here, so we don't get any restocks. Not enough anyway.
Alrighty. Next question.
Yeah, so in the chat we actually have a question. So from Feud, so winner of Gonghammer, Man, Myth, and Legend,
Yeah.
starting to see hints of 10th edition. Do you reckon it's far off? Let's go with you, Tausi. Do you think 10th edition is far off?
Oh, I don't know. Don't Guard need to get like the new book rather than the one that's like pretty much old enough to go to school now before we can get 10th? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I think you're still going to get the Guard book, but like far off, maybe like in less than a year. Do you think 10th edition's a year from now, roughly?
I mean, maybe, right? Like it's literally Demons of Guard to go. Like maybe we have Nephilim, and then the next GT pack we'll be playing could be 10th. Maybe, I don't know.
Benny, what do you think? Or has he dropped?
So we've still got squats to go as well. So we've got those two in squats, right?
You mean the league is a Vulcan?
We've got at least one. We've got at least one more mission pack to go through. I've heard rumors. Well, whenever they release a new edition, it's always in summer in America / England. All right, so I think it's going to be next August.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think
so that works out as 2 mission packs. The second one goes for about 7 or 8 months, and then 10th edition's out. That's what I reckon.
Yeah, it'll be pretty tight. I think so. Menagerie says July 2023, so it'll be 3 years from 9th edition. That seems about right. So I remember hearing
that does seem. That's just.
Yeah. So
do you guys reckon we'll get? Do you reckon we'll get another Marine 2.0 Codex, or will it just be the 10th ed one?
I'm not sure, but people think it's coming, right? And if it does, that's whatever. That's fine. But I think we're more likely to get the supplements that haven't been upgraded yet, right? Like your White Scars, all the 8th edition supplements that haven't been out, Ultramarines, White Scars. I think we're probably more likely to get that first, or at all. Like it'll be very annoying if we get a Space Marine Codex, we get 10th
Bobby
edition.
Woundgate.
No, we get 10th edition, and then we've got that because it's rumored to be Blood Angels and Tyranids, right? So we get that. So then we're going to get another Marine. We could potentially get 2 Marine Codexes within a year and a half. Like that seems too much, and I hope that's not the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you asked me at January of this year, I was like 100% a Marine Codex 2.0, but now it's July. It's tight, especially like given Demons and Guard.
Yeah, I agree.
But then Leagues of 10 early next year. But yeah, my money's on like July 2023 as well. Like I think that's the right time. And from my understanding, so like listening to Rob the Honest Wargamer, so who's someone who worked at Games Workshop, and like Vince Venturella, who sort of gets a feel for the game industry. Like GW have that sort of 3-year cycle where every summer they have that blockbuster. So recently it was the Horus Heresy release. The year before that was Dominion for Age of Sigmar. And then the year before that was obviously 40k 9th edition. So I think its time is up for 40k 9th edition. I wouldn't be surprised maybe if they delay it by like 6 months or so, just due to COVID releases, and maybe there's a whole Psychic Awakening equivalent sort of set of releases to come out, but we'll see what happens. So it feels weird though, because it sort of feels like now we've sort of been in 9th edition for 2 and a bit years, but it's sort of been, destroyed or like delayed by so many COVID, right? Just delayed by COVID and everything else. So we'll see what happens.
Yup.
Yeah, and Feud in the chat says Votan bound to be released pre-Xmas, right? I don't know. I thought I heard it was supposed to be a kill team, but with all these vehicles and little units coming out, we'll wait and see. What's Sisters about?
I don't know. I reckon he's spot on. I reckon they'll release him in like October is when I reckon. So
I think
late October for the Christmas build up. I reckon 100%. I agree with him.
Wasn't there some rumor like they would have like a mini? Like it's a half codex sort of release, like they maybe did with the Plastic Sisters line, where it's like, here's bare bones enough to be a faction, and then like the next edition they got a proper, like, okay, and here's the rest of the line released.
I don't know. I don't reckon they'd dare to do that, right? Like this is like I just don't think they'd dare to do that. Surely sure, like they've pushed their luck with a few of their release schedule in ninth has been like pretty god awful, right? Like they've got to start they can't just I hope not. Anyway, I hope you're not right, Taos. There'll be so many people upset about that if that's the way.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if if Age of Sigmar players will understand this, like Lumineth Realm Lords, which are the High Elves. They initially funny enough, they did like a book and like a set with a bunch of units, like mostly an army, so like a couple of units, like 6 or 7, 8 units, and then literally a year later they added more units, and I think now this year they're adding another book with more units. So I think they might do something like that, where maybe of the 4 leagues of Votann range, they do half now, and then maybe a half a year from now. But I think there'll at least be that first initial half. Like, I think there'll be a solid army of sorts to start, and then we'll see what happens. So I don't think they'll start off with 3-4 units and like try and make it work, and then a year from now, but we'll see.
Bro, every new book in 9th edition's broken for at least 6 to 12 weeks. So I can't have any of that.
Well, one benefit. So Inglesos in chat says GW shouldn't have supply issues with Votann. They have half the size, so there's less plastic you need. I mean, perfect. Yeah. I mean, there we go. We sorted our problem. So just
Ben's been squatted.
There we go. That's all it is. So and I'm sure Benny Way will join us back. So, but the next question we have is from McWerp in the chat. So Brendan, so how big is WTC out there in like Australia and New Zealand? I know in Europe. Sorry, Benny. So we have from McWerp a question. So how big is WTC out there? I know in Europe it is big, the big cheese, and in America it's mostly ignored below the level of player that has a chance of competing at it. How is it where y'all are at? So, Taos, what's your view of WTC?
From a distance, that's the view. I don't know. Like I don't know if New Zealand's ever sent a team. Like I think there have been like talks or something about a New Zealand team, but it's a fair ways away. I don't know. We're more looking to actually get over to the Australian New Zealand team champs before looking to WTC sort of thing is more like level of where we'd be looking to go. I think to like try and speak for the country as a whole. Like it's definitely something that we look for and is cool, but it's not super duper feasible. Like it's literally the opposite side of the world.
Yeah, so like what I think Brendan's suggesting is actually the format more so than the actual tournament, I think. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, well, I think there's comments both, right? So WTC, like if you come over to the Australian New Zealand Team Championships, that will be WTC format. So that is, that's it. Do you play much WTC over in New Zealand? Like, have you played the format before, or even on TTS or anything else?
Like the terrain format or the 20-0 system, or
no, like have you ever played on the WTC terrain format? The score doesn't matter too much, but have you used like WTC like rules and FAQs and basically the whole lot? Really, I guess.
Rules and FAQs, not so sure about. Like when some of the team events here have used them, like when I went up to NZ teams, that was WTC format in the terms of the 20 on the pairings. I think the FAQ was like pseudo in effect, like it sort of was, sort of wasn't. Terrain format, not really that common here. I've based what I've designed off of their format more or less. I don't have like the really big solid L's. So there's bits and pieces of all of them. I think the 20-0 system is generally pretty popular for teams events. Like I am aware of 3 regular team events, one of which is Cavcon, I just said. That's the one that doesn't use it. There was another team event run by Gary that was 20-0, and then the Kraken lads had one that was 20-0. So yeah, differential system, reasonably popular for teams, not for singles, like it is in some places around Europe. Terrain, limited. FAQ, not really used that much, but isn't necessarily unpopular, just hasn't been used for arbitrary reasons.
Yeah, right. So I think it's growing though, right? Like obviously in the past you've attended ANZ TC and like your scene's growing and growing and growing. So next year you're going to have a South Island team as well as a North Island team. And I think it's growing though, right? And I think you got some people from New Zealand. So some of the Kraken Cast boys are flying over to LVO. So I'm sure there's more New Zealanders willing to travel far distances. So obviously, unfortunately, you can't attend WTC this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if even next year you guys attend. And obviously, you got your best New Zealand player living in the UK in David Gaylard. So, I mean, surely you get one of him to come along and represent. And I'm pretty sure Steve Joel, funnily enough, is actually a New Zealand rep, is my understanding. So,
I think
so.
so.
You guys will work it out. So,
I think Steve's well keen. It'd be cool to have David involved, I guess. It's funny, I heard of him on the Polish podcast Contact Lost, and man, the dude still sounds very Kiwi, talking about like growing up on the farm and stuff. So that was funny.
I think so. Even so, in Canberra, Australia, like we actually, I would say, definitely more WTC folks in America, but obviously nowhere near as much as the European matter per se. It's not, I guess, the marquee event, although it is growing, I think, a lot in sentiment. So most of our team events that I know of have been sort of from that WTC format down. So we sort of had that philosophy heading in. We use a lot of the rules and FAQs where there's not an obvious answer, and there's a lot of incentive brought into there. So there is definitely a WTC mindset, and I think the team growing forward will get more and more people involved. So I think we had a bunch of people involved this year for WTC, like in terms of the application process, and we've got like one of our strongest teams. So it'll be interesting to see how things are moving forward. And yeah, what do you think, Ben? You think that's about right?
I've got some, we had an interesting chat on the Best in Tabletop Discord about this, and I've definitely got some like stronger opinions, and I not stronger like as in like controversial, but like I definitely kind of feel quite strongly about it. So in my opinion, like WTC covers a lot of the stuff that GW does, because it's not through changing the rules. It's just about having answers there. There might not be answers you like in that FAQ, but at least there's answers instead of grey areas. So I think that whenever there's a team tournament in Australia, which Australians absolutely love team tournaments, and in my opinion, and I'm just going to throw it out there, and I reckon I'll have some Aussies in the chat that will back me. America doesn't do team tournaments, proper team tournaments. And when they do, they don't do them properly. And I do think that Europe obviously lead the way with that. And I actually think Australia are like not too far behind. Like whenever there's a team tournament over here, first thing that is specified is if it's WTC format or if it's just whatever, you know what I mean, or ITC, right? So the ITC is like we're playing normal game, like a regular like singles format, but in a team format with the differential scoring. WTC format is terrain rules, differentials in scoring. The FAQs importantly are the main things, and there's so many little interactions. It's almost like a different game when you get really deep into the weeds. Sam will be able to attest to that from when his experience of it just gone. And me as a TO can also, like having to TO that event can really, really appreciate the differences. There's definitely merit to kind of merging those two for simplicity's sake. If you're doing more of a local one, like even like for this year, coming up with the New South Wales team championships, I'm not considering going full WTC on it because it can really, really catch people out, and it makes it a bit homeworky when it's meant to be a fun team tournament at the end of the day. There's a comment there from Alex in the chat there saying team tournaments are fantastic. 5s or 8s are the best way, just adds the extra element with the pairings and army role types. And it 100% does. 4s kind of feel like it just, as soon as you're just basically picking one matchup that you don't want to happen in a team of 4, and then you just make it so it doesn't. With 5s and 8s, it feels like there's an actual pairings game within that. It's great for building community as well. It's great. But yeah, anyway, back to the subject. WTC actually is very popular over here. to the point where we have players over here who barely play singles and focus all their efforts for Team Australia for the WTC and building on team tournaments. Like there are players like Eric Lathoris, for example. You don't see him at too many singles events, but you'll see him at almost every team event if he's not prepping the national team, you know. So that's what it's all about. We absolutely love them out here. So
also, back like in 8th, I think, when people were running the ITC format before, because 9th was the one that came along, right, and just got everyone playing the same game. Like back in 8th, when there was still the ITC mission pack, wasn't the WTC mission, and there was a WTC mission pack, wasn't it like really big in Australia to be playing the WTC thing with like in-game scoring and Maelstrom cards and that mix? Am I remembering that right? Like in terms of it being popular in Aussie compared to other places in the world?
Maybe earlier on, apology, that's probably before my time, but I think definitely more than the ITC version, sorry. So I'm a bad influence, but I wouldn't be surprised, if they did take a lot more influence from that ETC at the time then. Do you know, Benny?
Yeah.
Or you think before our time?
Sorry, could you just repeat what you said there? I was just reading the chat then, sorry.
So back, like, I think in 8th, right, it was the people were still running the ITC mission pack and or the WTC missions, and wasn't the WTC missions quite popular around Australia, whereas like in America that was ITC all day every day?
Oh mate, it was like the Wild West back then, because that was back in the days where you'd have even in Australia, you'd have different states running different formats. You'd have like ITC, you'd have this, and this, comp, normal, just weird stuff. Because you got to remember the ETC was a combination. So it was a combination of Maelstrom, Eternal War, and then it had its own layers of rules on top. So remember you had the cards in the ETC. I obviously have not been to one, but I know how it works. So they used the cards.
It was like
so you had the Maelstrom cards, and cards would be banned. Certain cards would be banned because they'd be too good. So you'd be playing Eternal War missions with cards. It was a nightmare, and that's changed for two reasons. One of them being the WTC breaking off from the ETC has refined and tuned that into more of a comprehensive format. With less grey areas and just less complicated. And the other thing being GW universalizing their mission packets, which has been probably one of the biggest and best improvements in 9th edition I think they've ever done. GW was making so everyone's playing the same missions.
Yeah, agreed. So I think we could talk about this discussion of Maelstrom and old school WTC versus ITC for ages, but I think
we're in the weeds here.
Yeah. So we have fellow, actually, so one of the, I guess he's a streamer in Australia, so Barnyard Jack. He does some great battle reports, really good live content. So shout out Barnyard Jack. Please go support him if you guys can. Does some really, really great content. So yeah, it says, "G'day chaps, you reckon that the community would be interested in baking the price of everyone's flights to come to a team tournament into the price of the entry ticket?" So what do you guys think about potentially, as part of your entry ticket, you get flights included from like X destination to X destination? What do you think about that, or some form of transport?
Like, it seems cool as a concept, but I'm just like immediately thinking cynically and like, how do you even make that work? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit hard. Like, it just depends. Like, obviously, everyone's got a different financial budget, monetary budget. So, for example, I got VTC in October, so early October. So it's a 5-man teams event. And like for us Canberrans, a lot of us were looking to fly, but I wouldn't be surprised if some people want to drive. It's like a 6-7 hour drive. And some people have different schedules. Like some people want to fly it on a Friday. Some people want to fly it on a Monday, or it's like, fly back on a Monday. Some want to fly out Sunday night. It's hard to organize. I love the incentive, and I think when we get to the stage, like where maybe we can organize some flight deals and packages, sure. And I think definitely for like those bigger events where you definitely know these people flying from here to here, like I think if you got enough Sydney people, I'm sure you could organize some sort of ratio for that. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think at individual basis right now it's hard. So like for example, Uprising, so it's our LVO equivalent event, I wouldn't be surprised if you could organize flights or a booking deal from South Sydney to Adelaide, where you get a lot of people from the New South Wales region to Sydney, and then fly from Sydney to Adelaide. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a good idea and something to do, but I don't know if it's much. That's a lot of effort for the TOs and event organizers to organize and get working.
Oh, okay, apparently Barney Jackson's commented saying they meant like for the Australia-New Zealand team event. So like there's some subsidizing of everyone pays about the same, so the locals are paying to help everyone come along.
So in previous years they have done that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's again, right?
Yeah. In previous years they've done that. So and mainly for the Kiwis. So yeah, only because now I'm not saying this is a thing that will actually continue, but I've read a lot of previous years ANZTC player packs, and that is included within that. So it's been in one or two of them. So
yeah, I think it's a good idea. There's obviously a lot of organization and things to do, but I think it's a good idea. And like, because some people are like, it catch people off by surprise when you think about traveling to events. So like an event ticket might be $50, $100. So it's like, cool, $100 spent. Then you like don't think, I've got to travel there with petrol or flights or something. You got accommodation, you got food, you got everything, and like it quickly racks up. Like, and the trip to Adelaide, which might be $115 for a ticket for a 3 days, will probably almost equal up like $500, $600, if not $1,000, up to $1,000 if you really want to go lavishly. So I think it's a good way to sort of incentive or get people caught up. This is actually how much it's going to cost. So yeah, it's a good idea for sure. So and our last question for today. So we've got Alec in the Discord asked, so are Chaos Vindicators unironically viable in New Zealand? So I think with the terrain that Tausi was playing all these nights, of course, but what's happening?
But if you don't have any ruins, then hell yeah. Bring 3.
Mate, I got a stack of ruins just over there, okay? Like, it's fine. I am tired of getting roasted for this nonsense, guys. Do you guys know about the glow up that they got in the Chaos book? Do you know how the profile changed?
They're good.
Yeah, they got a real glow up. So they're tough 8 still, right? Like, I think they're in the 125 point range. They're D3 plus 3 shots now, and they got a bonus pip of AP. So I think they're D3 plus 3 shots, 10 neg 4 D6 damage. And so local CSM menace, Vinny Purcell, was running the notorious Vindicators for his at Cavcon this weekend. So he had like the Terminator Brick, Abaddon, Barebones Troops, 3 Vindicators. And it was going pretty well for him. I
thought they were D3 plus 2 damage.
Oh, I don't know.
I
thought they were D6. There's a chance.
You're probably
man
right.
Could read. He'd consume some alcohol. All right. Yeah. So that. But they seem solid. Like in Black Legion as well, where you can get +1 to hit. Like having them rock around.
Yeah, nice.
Like D3 plus 3 shots, exploding 6s turn 1. The like hitting on 2s. It's like it's spooky. It's pretty solid. Like I'll probably get laughed at by people other places, for being like, just get good. But
no, it's good. It's good. It's good chat. Like Feud said here in the chat, he said Chaos Vindicators are one of the very few sources on anti-tank for Chaos Space Marines, and that is a thing. Like I've got the book, I've read it. Like there is like, it does feel a bit damage won the book, right? And just like having something that can punch through like a Vindicator. Like you can't. Because remember when everyone laughed, like after the memes had died off and the Tau book actually came out, everyone just laughed about railguns, about how no one was going to take them, right? And then look where we're at now, right?
Yeah, people are running quad hammerhead and just like bang.
Exactly, man. Like exactly, that's where we're at.
Yeah, well, and like I don't know. It's like I think they're solid. Because they're like tough 8. 2-up save against shooting with armor of contempt. Like they're annoying to punch through for their price. And like shoot reasonably well. Because the other thing is like aren't people looking at Havocs for anti-tank, like Slaanesh Havocs to use as stratagem? And like, yeah, there's not heaps in the way of options in the book. Like they're not. I don't think they're bad.
Yeah. We'll find out, right? Whether the Art of War will put them in the tier list. Where are the Vindicators?
Oh, dude, I think they were perfectly balanced. But dude, that like watching Stat Check this morning, seeing Anthony just get turbo sad at that was too funny.
Oh. Well, that's going to bring a wrap for episode 10 of 40K Frontiers. Really, really appreciate it, guys, for all the support in the chat. And if you have any events you want to highlight or any questions for any of us, please just leave them in the comment section down below or message us personally. Really appreciate the support. And thank you for tuning in for our first live episode. And tune in next week for our interview. So when you're hearing this, we got an interview with the Tasmanian boys who will be part of this podcast. And then look forward to future content. Until next time, take care, everyone. Have a good one.